he constantly criticizes and make really bad statements about people who make fun of him. He's threatened to sue them. So these people who are pointing out his flaws are not politically correct,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to shut them up.
Yeah.
So what the hell
And-
does he mean by
And he's
this?
implying that political correctness is what made us lose a bunch of wars.
As an Air Force helicopter pilot in Vietnam, Captain Stovall, he rescued the downed American pilot who had been stranded on the ground for 23 days and brought him back
Where was this, by the way? Did he say?
He said Vietnam, I believe.
home alive, completing the deepest rescue behind enemy lines in the
Also, I think we do need to apologize for veterans for putting them into some of these situations that we didn't need to be involved in.
Right.
They're very brave that their government sent them and forced them to be in these situations for
They shouldn't have been in.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been in to begin with. So I do appreciate, like, yeah, veterans deserve respect and stuff.
Right.
But also, it should be a day to apologize partially to all the trauma we put these folks through.
America's warriors never quit, never surrender. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win. That's what we do. We win back.
By the way, if they do surrender, that's okay. That's a part of war.
Yeah.
Donald Trump consistently
like those, yeah.
disrespects soldiers who are captured. Even, by the way, it's much better to be captured than to lose your soldiers. It's also just bad for the country if you start having a bunch of dead soldiers. Anyway, and sometimes you're stuck in situations where you have to surrender. That's just how it works.
Battles. As you know, today is not only Veterans Day, but it's my proclamation that we are now going to be saying and calling Victory Day for World War I. Victory Day. I was recently at an event and I saw France was celebrating Victory Day, but we didn't. And I saw France was celebrating another Victory Day for World War II. And other countries were celebrating. They were all celebrating. We're the one that won the wars.
Okay, so we got a couple things here. One, France in World War I, France was in an apocalyptic state, where the country was about to fall. They lost a whole generation of young men. The victory over the Germans over that war basically saved the French nation. Like, they were on the brink of collapse and things like that. So their victory in that war was extremely important to France. Okay, all right. Second of all, I would bet that he went to Russia, I believe, to help celebrate their Victory Day, which was the Victory Day from the Soviets over the Nazis, and I think he really liked that. But what's funny is that him to say that America is the one that won the war, we played a role. You should ask the Russians how they feel about that, because the Russians lost many millions more men and civilians fighting than the Americans did. And it is generally considered by historians that the war was won by Russian lives won the war, and American weapons and Russian lives, okay, or Russian soldiers, because we did send a bunch of weapons places, but the war wouldn't have been won against the Nazis except by the sacrifice of the Soviets and lots of other people too. Okay,
yeah. And I was going to say also too, the forcing Hitler, we. And the allies would be that I'm going to talk about are the Western allies, the British, those French that got away and got to Britain, the Poles from Poland who got away and got to Britain. Canada was a part of the British Empire back then, Australia. It was very difficult on those nations in Europe that the Nazis were attacking. And the Russians helped slow down that advance and helped reduce the size of the German army and then started to push them back.
Mm-hmm.
The Americans jumping in finally Germany, had to redirect some of their troops.
Yeah. Yes. This is a historical point we could debate. It is.
And I'm not saying Russia wasn't. Russia, my God, if they hadn't have lost all those people,
Yeah,
and done what they did, Germany could have just overrun them.
right.
They were 20 miles from Moscow.
Yeah.
And then the plan was to turn the troops back around toward France. And can you imagine having the full German military on the beaches of Normandy?
Yeah. Yeah. So the Americans definitely helped, don't get me wrong. And also it would have been better. The Americans, the British, the Canadians, helped. The Australians helped a lot. And also it would have been bad too if the Soviets just kind of took over all of Europe. That wouldn't have been great either. But it is not historically accurate to say that America is the reason that the war was
Yep.
won. That we definitely, don't get me wrong, it was great that like I'm very glad we helped out and that we were one of the big reasons why the Nazis fell, and we protected Europe from Soviet totalitarianism. But anyway,
And also there's
Um,
there's Japan too.
and yeah, we also, that's another thing. Like we were
Heavily against
yes,
joining.
and
Yeah.
China too. They made a lot of sacrifices, but yeah, we were very important. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of people who are taught in America that America is the reason that the war was won. And that's an oversimplification.
You know what? It's kind of like I like watching college football.
Mhm.
My wife and I especially like watching our favorite team, which I'm not going to say because some of you won't probably like that team, and probably
It's the Ohio State
my son
Buckeyes.
would, yeah. Oh. Jerk. You don't see them interviewing after the game. One of the team who's being interviewed for their great playing. Oh, gee, can you tell us about that touchdown that you made? You cutting in and out. He says, well, I couldn't have done it without my blockers in front of me, or I couldn't have done it without the great play calling.
Mhm.
They'll always thank the team.
Mhm.
Always, always. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
He is saying, screw everybody else. We won it. No,
Yeah.
it was a team effort there,
Right.
Mr. Trump.
This is classic American exceptionalism, which a lot of, especially right wingers, there's some like liberals who believe this too, that America is exceptional. It's better than everyone else. It has the best, and it's just kind of, it's tired. And there's nothing wrong with patriotism, but this sort of sense of like we best, we most free, it grates on my nerves.
And we have tipped the balance in some wars,
Of course.
in our allies' favors.
Yeah,
But
like in World War One.
yeah, but they hadn't been defeated yet.
No, and they made tremendous sacrifices. And by the
And-
way, we oftentimes would come in near the end, and that is not me dismissing our involvement. So, okay, ready, Dan?
Yes.
Okay.
And I said, from now on, we're going to say Victory Day for World War I and World War II. And we could do for plenty of other wars, but we'll start with those two. Maybe someday somebody else will add a couple of more because we won a lot of good ones. But when I see other countries celebrating Victory Day, I watched it. I watched UK. I
do think it's funny. I wonder what wars he's referring to. There have been I would say there have been by the way, in general, war's bad.
Yeah.
Most of the time, wars are bad, regardless of what country you are. Most of the time, there's selfish reasons for them, unless you're being directly attacked. And I would say I can think of only a few American wars that were justified, in my opinion. And most of them, in my opinion, were not justified. So I'm wondering what other ones he wants to celebrate.
Yeah. And also, too, these other countries celebrate big time because they were decimated.
Yeah, it was apocalyptic.
And as he said, my son said here, we lost some of the fewest number
Mm-hmm.
of men and women in the war. And in terms of civilians, heck of a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
So of course they're going to come out and honor them and celebrate them, and most of it is in a lot of those parades they have is to honor
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I'm okay with, like, we should honor the veterans who fought in those wars. But the idea of a victory day is getting more into politics, right? That it was right and good that we won, or that we waged the war to begin with.
Well, it depends. I mean, I can't blame
No. I'm saying that, like,
him.
no. But if he wants to add a bunch of wars and call them victory days,
Right.
which there's some wars, yeah, that it was good that we won. Other wars, that's sort of historically. Or that the wars, the fact that we even got involved with them, like the Mexican-American War, the Spanish-American War, or like, yeah.
Well, there's this one thing that always stuck with me. I used to also teach about the U.S. Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Gettysburg, that first day, a Union cavalry unit stumbled upon some Confederate troops
Mm-hmm.
at the edge of Gettysburg. And the Federal cavalry unit was led by a general by the name of General
Buford.
Thank you. And he saw that, God, this particular unit that we have run into is not too far normally from the main body. So, but our army, the Union Army, the Army of the Potomac, is a lot further away. We can't just let the Confederates come in and take this. This would be terrible. And he says, and this is, he said a lot more. He says, this is before the fighting actually started. He says, I can see it now. He says, I can see back in our country, and I'm paraphrasing, in our Congress, in our government, the senators and the people will be thumping their chests and go, oh, what a great battle that was. That brought glory and honor to us. And he was saying that to be totally, totally sarcastic. They're sitting back there and they're going to be the ones going to talk about how great we are while thumping their chests.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything.
No.
Back there. And that's what I'm hearing here.
Exactly. That's exactly my point about like the Victory Day thing. It's like, okay.
To Russia, they were celebrating Victory Day, World War II. And I said, we got to have a Victory Day. Nobody even talked about it in our country. But from now on,
Trump just likes the big military parades. Like he was impressed by Russia's military parade. He is kind of he's authoritarian tendency towards loving big displays like North Korean displays of military prowess and things like that.
we're going
I think there's a jealousy there when it comes to the size of their parades and our president.
Wonder what that's about. Okay.
to be celebrating Victory Day for World War I, for World War II, and frankly, for everything else. Under the Trump administration, we're restoring the pride and the winning spirit of the United States military. That's why we have officially renamed the Department of Defense back to the original name, Department of War.
Honestly, I'm okay with that because it's more honest. I got to be honest with you, it's more honest. No, we're not always in wars that are defensive, like when we went to war in Iraq or Vietnam. Okay. Not exactly
That is
defensive.
true.
Yeah, it's sort of a propagandistic thing to call it the defense. But
also too, it's like,
now, 1 second. Sorry. The reason he though is changing it to the Department of War isn't for that reason. He's doing it because he likes the belligerence of the word, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You gonna say something else, Dan?
No.
Okay.
Remember, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything in between, we won everything that came before. And then we brilliantly decided.
Would you say we won the War of 1812? I mean, kind of. I mean, it was more of a. I don't know about that one.
I don't think we actually out and out won the war. Didn't it kind of in a tie?
It kind of was like a
kind of. But we did get the British to back off in many cases, seizing our ships, which was one of the things. It got the British to back off.
A few things, right?
Yeah, a few things. A few things. And it got Britain to start rethinking about their role concerning this new country, the United States.
Right.
I mean, after all, the British captured the White House and burned it to the ground. Well, could burn to the ground. We just, it was a fledgling country who partly lucked out because at the very same time that Britain was trying to crush us, they were fighting Napoleon.
We got lucky.
So thank God they were fighting Napoleon.
Right.
Didn't send their whole army over.
Right. Though he is generally true. I guess most of the wars before those wars we won. I suppose. All right.
To change the name of this great thing that we all created together, and we became politically correct. We don't like being politically correct. So we're not going to be politically correct anymore. From now on, when we fight a war, we only fight for one reason, to win. We fight to.
Okay.
I want to go back to the politically correct thing. We're going to stop being politically correct. And yet he gets Colbert fired.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't politically correct, so he didn't like it, so let's get him fired. He constantly criticizes and make really bad statements about people who make fun of him. He's threatened to sue them. So these people who are pointing out his flaws are not politically correct. And he wants to shut them up.
Yeah.
So what the hell does he mean by
And he's
this?
implying that political correctness is what made us lose A bunch of wars. Yeah, I'm sure it was us being politically correct that made us lose Vietnam, for example, or,
Yes.
again, that's insane. All right.
Win.
Okay, we're going to win is what we're going to
That
do.
under my
Yeah.
leadership, we're also fighting for the great veterans who have always been there for us, and especially when we needed them and needed them most. In 9 months, the Trump administration has cut the backlog of VA benefit claims in half. That's a big achievement, and Doug is going
I
to
had
get it
heard
down to
something like that, yes.
zero.
But
During the Biden
benefits
administration, the
aren't up to
backlog
where they should be.
exploded
Yeah.
like we had never seen before, and I'm going to eliminate 100% of that backlog. We're moving at that pace, and already we've processed more than 3 million backlog claims, the most of any year in the history of the VA. We've added more than 1 million extra service hours across the VA centers, and we've opened 20 new facilities in 13 states, something that people said just not possible to do. We also have brought back VA choice and VA accountability, taken away by the Biden administration, so that when you have to wait online, you go out and you get yourself a doctor. We pay for the doctor if you have to wait. And the other thing is we fired thousands of people who didn't take care of our great veterans.
I'm sure that helped.
Sadists.
I'm sure that helped with the efficiency of the system, cutting a bunch of people who were delivering the services for the veterans.
They were sick people. They were thieves. They were everything you want to name, and we got rid of over 9,000 of them. And then
And
when
weren't
Biden
all-
came in, he hired
No.
them back, many of them. But we got rid of them.
Always
I-
got to bring up Biden, right? I mean, this is supposed to be about veterans.
I
Yeah,
think we got rid
and he's talking about, even though he's talking about kind of indirectly veterans, he's talking about Biden. He's also talking about what he did.
Of course.
Biden didn't
Of
do.
course. Of course.
of them permanently. We replaced them with people who love our veterans, not people who are
You
sick
don't.
people. We're also confronting the challenge of veterans' homelessness, and earlier this year I signed an order establishing the National Center for Warrior Independence to house up to 6,000 veterans in need, and we will not stop until we have ended the tragedy of homeless veterans
Mar-a-Lago?
once and for
Probably.
all. I'd see in New York where
Maybe he'll put them in the ballroom he just built,
people that came into our country illegally, they came in illegally, would be put up in hotels, and veterans would be sitting on the sidewalk outside of that hotel where these other people are put in. And many of the people that came in were put in from prisons. They were murderers.
Okay. First of all, why don't we just house everyone? Why don't we house the veterans that are homeless and we house the migrants? We have, by the way, about 800,000 homeless people in this country, but millions of open houses, apartments, and things like that. And I also want to point out, if he wants to talk about opening hotels, is he going to open his hotels to veterans or migrants?
And also too, there's a bit of difference here. And once again, these are general terms. But there are veterans, and I knew somebody that worked in a center that tried to help veterans. There are some veterans who have some a lot of veterans that are homeless who have some mental instability because of what they went through.
Or drug addiction problems because
Yeah.
of what they went through, or
Yes, and sometimes they don't want the help, and it's because they don't recognize they need the help, and that's sad. That is really sad because we put them in that position, and so to compare one to the other, I don't think is right. He brings the two, like what my son said. Is he opening up his hotels to house the veterans?
But you agree that we also need to house the immigrants, right? I mean, like everyone should have housing, right? We need somewhere to put people who come in the country who are even if they're undocumented, they need to be somewhere, right? So I don't know why this is classic scapegoating. Let's blame the immigrants for why our veterans are suffering when we could easily help both. We can help this veterans and we can help the immigrants. We can do both. Wealthiest country in human history. We can do it. Okay.
And the greatest country in human history,
according to Donald Trump, right? So
him.
yeah.
So why can't the greatest country do that, Mr. Trump?
Right.
They were drug dealers.
Okay, once again, more demonizing of immigrants, most of whom are very good people who are running from terrible economic situations from other countries and just are human beings who want to live a better life.
Yeah, and he is once again he's targeting another group that has nothing to do with the veterans. So
Yeah.
once again,
Scapegoating.
total disrespect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They were people that we didn't want in our country. They were staying in hotels, luxury hotels, and our veterans were sitting on the sidewalks watching them go in.
Then why don't you house the veterans?
Right.
I said, that's never going to happen under this administration. I also signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act because no veteran should be kicked out of their home for what they call a late payment. It's not happening. And I'm pleased to report that since January, the veterans' unemployment rate has fallen by more than 26%. That's amazing. Work hard on that. And I also want to give a very special thanks to all of the veteran service organizations that work so hard. They're all represented here today, but they work so hard on behalf of our great veterans. And one of the heroes who reminds us of why we fight for those who served in uniform is Army Major and West Point grad Jonathan Turnbull. In 2019, Jonathan was conducting an operation in Syria when a suicide bomber approached and detonated his vest, leaving Jonathan gravely wounded, so badly wounded they thought he had no chance. The injuries were so severe the doctors gave him, everybody, they just looked, they all cried. They knew him, they loved him, and they were just crying. They said, no chance. He was resuscitated 3 separate times and he underwent 22 surgeries, but he refused to give up. He wanted to live. He loved this country. He loved his family. He wanted to live. He was going through hell. I visited Jonathan at Walter Reed in 2020, remembered so well, and today I'm delighted to say that Jonathan is not only alive, he is here with us, back on his feet, and living a great life alongside his beautiful wife, Samantha, and their 3 incredible children. Jonathan, Samantha, please, God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Where
That gentleman actually wrote
a
book about his experience.
There he is. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're a tough guy.
Yeah.
You're a tough one. Nobody could have gone through what you went through. He's doing good, isn't he, huh, Samantha? Thank you very much, both. And in conclusion, from the very beginning of our country, our great American flag has always been shielded and protected by a special cast of citizens who has stepped forward to safeguard liberty's cause. When danger came, when duty called, when Almighty God asked, who had the will and the strength to defend the land of the free, each and every American veteran stood up and said, here I am, send me.
Donald Trump never stood up and said that.
No.
Neither do many wealthy people.
He said, I have spurs.
Bone spurs. Yeah, okay.
Here I am. They've come from every corner of this nation, from the cornfields of Iowa to the hills and valleys of California, from the steel towns of Pennsylvania to the vast plains of Texas, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi to the 5 boroughs of New York City. With selfless commitment and unyielding conviction, they made themselves America's ramparts and became the shield between our homeland and those who would do us harm. With everything they had, they did one thing above all else. They put America first. On the decks of destroyers, beneath the thunder of cannon fire, in the cockpits of our beautiful B-2 bombers. Aren't they beautiful now? We respect them so much. What a job they did. That in an instant completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capability, of which we have just ordered, I have to say, many more of the updated versions of that.
His own intelligence people said we may have set it back, but it didn't destroy it.
Yeah.
Our own
and again, he's the one who ruined it to begin with. He got us out of the Iran nuclear deal. So,
piece of art. They defended the American Republic, dispensed American justice, crushed the enemies of freedom, and vanquished the forces of wickedness.
Yeah, a lot of that's honestly American exceptionalist propaganda. Anyway, okay.
And evil. That's what we've been doing. Because of what every veteran has done today, the flame of liberty shines bright. The people of our nation sleep safe.
Does it? Does it?
Okay, I want to mention something here. He talked about, defeating the evil that was against us and what our veterans did. Well, he's very, very much in favor of renaming a lot of the bases, military bases, back after the Confederate generals who were committed treason, who started a war that killed
600,000 to 800,000 people, something like
more
that.
Americans in any war ever.
Mhm.
And and they tried to destroy it all. I'd say the majority of the reason why they did that was so they wouldn't lose their property, aka enslaved people. And when he talks about the evil that we defeated, is having enslaved people evil? That is evil for the last time I thought.
Mhm.
And yet he's touting how we stood up to defeat the evil. And then he'll go with the same breath and allow the renaming
Mhm.
after these officers from the South who wanted to hold on to slavery.
And if you want to talk, he keeps talking about defending freedom and stuff, even though he has massively cracked down on freedom in the United States. Doing tons of throwing migrants without due process into large outdoor camps,
And just dragging them off the street. They won't identify themselves.
with their kids in tow.
And some people who have been grabbed off the streets weren't illegals.
Yes, yeah, and also just going after all of his political opponents, using scapegoating, pardoning people who have violated the freedom of others. Like, okay, just the the hypocrisy is unbelievable.
The American dream surges forward, and our magnificent destiny stands more splendid and glorious than ever before.
Jesus.
So I want to say thank you once again to every American veteran. You are very, very special people and always in our heart. And thank you very much. And God bless you and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank God that's
Such
over.
a hypocrite. He's
Yeah,
such a freaking hypocrite.
it is very true.
It's just
Yeah. Anything else? Any last thing you want to say here, Dad? After watching
I
that?
just
Yeah.
and what kills me is that there's going to people that are going to take some of the stuff that he said because some of it wasn't bad.
Yeah, well, because that's
Yeah,
standard fare for
yeah,
these speeches.
but they're going to take some of the stuff he said, which is very, very wrong,
Mhm.
and believe him. And they're going to embrace what he said. They're going to drink the Kool-Aid.
Mhm.
That is so freaking disrespectful to the men and women over the years who stood as that shield, as he said, to protect
That wall, Dad, that wall.
that wall, to protect the country, to guarantee rights and freedoms and liberty to future generations. He is such a hypocrite because he's not defending that with various groups of people because he doesn't like them.
Yep, that's for sure. All right, folks. If you like my content, please click the join button below. And for as little as 99 cents per month, you can help support my channel. Follow if you haven't already. You can also support me on Patreon. I go live almost every day doing live streams, except for Wednesdays and Sundays. You can find me underneath this video. You can find links. Please join our Discord. We have a fast-growing Discord with a large growing community on there. We have about 150 people on there. All right.
And sometimes he'll have me as a guest.
Yeah, sometimes I'll have him as a guest, right? Yeah. So okay.
I threaten him.
I don't want to see his face anymore. His gross face up here. Yeah. Okay. We'll get rid of Trump's face.